Welcome to Fitness and Finance Radio. I am your co-host, Tony Shore. I am not a doctor, but I play one on the radio and on this podcast. Yes, Dr. Shore. I believe there should be a doctor in there somewhere. I am here with our hosts. They are incredible. Jennifer Scherer and Jeff Smith. Jeffrey Smith, you guys, he's the wealth smith. He's the insurance smith. And she is a fitness guru. I don't want to burden her with the Fitness Smith moniker just yet.
Right.
But you guys, not only do you make a great couple, and I'm so glad you guys are together, but doing the show, really focusing on your strengths is great, and trying to help our listeners with their health and their fitness as well as their wealth.
Yeah.
So first, you guys have been all over the television lately, all over the screen. You guys are stars. You not only have the podcast and the show each week, but I saw you on the local CBS affiliate, and you were talking about this podcast and talking about the importance of staying healthy and how that can affect your finances as well. I thought that was great.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, we were on Fox as well a couple days ago. So that'll be out on Facebook too as well.
Yeah, I want to see that. I missed the one on Fox, but I caught the one on CBS, and I'll watch the Fox appearance as well. But you guys both did great. I'm glad that you let Jennifer do most of the talking, Jeff.
Yeah,
that was good.
That's the smart play. If you ever want to watch any of Jennifer's episodes, we can just contact Janet. She's got them. She records them not only on the DVR, but she records them with her phone live.
Oh, so really?
Awesome. We always have a replay, and it's super handy.
It's weird, and how if you go through her footage, it's all just of Jennifer, and there's nothing.
Yeah, there's like a blurry part.
No.
And all the social media clips they pick, they've edited Jeff.
Yeah,
I like how in they show, here's their podcast. Jeff and I edited out. It's just Jennifer.
No. So I think their social media department at Fredericksburg Fitness is like, well, let's just lose those two guys.
Oh, stop.
Let's focus on the one
which makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean the one who's coherent. That's the one who puts a sentence together.
You can string an actual sentence together. Yes.
They asked us a question that had me thinking on CBS. They were like, so why did you start this podcast? And of course, they don't ask you beforehand when they invite you on these TV shows, what questions you asked.
Right.
And in the moment, my gut response was because we have an overlap of clientele, the demographic.
Yeah. That was a good answer.
Yeah. But I think as we began talking about it, like on the ride home, we started thinking about like, well, what is the deeper reason, that we're doing the podcast? Like, what is our main goal or objective? And I think it's to talk about these hard topics that, a lot of people put their head in the sand about.
Yeah.
I think that's where we can really do the most good, is like not ignoring, stressors and problems, and like, being able to shed some light on strategies on how to overcome those things. And so when we were talking, right before the show on what topic we would do, we talked about Pilates last time. And I think a topic that even myself would benefit from is like how to prepare for retirement when you have a saver and a spender. I think that's really important. I think there's a lot, right? I think there's a lot of those marriages out there that have those, those dynamics. So I'm excited for this episode.
Yeah. I see it a lot. Yeah. That's my, I've been, in some capacity, a retirement, planner of sorts since 2002, maybe even a little bit before that. And, in some respects, I always looked at forecasting income for, looking at stuff beyond there. But one of the biggest concerns I've seen are that first 3 to 6 months post-retirement. It is such a scary time. And I mean, it can be exciting. A lot of people get very excited about it, but there are people who have poured their whole life into a career. And the idea of not having that to go to at one day is a challenge. And so we definitely need to uncover some of this stuff. And, especially, if we're the spouse of the person who is deeply committed to that profession, we're talking about people that made an impact in our world. People, we're this close to DC. We've had people, who worked for DEA undercover, and broke up massive drug rings, and have done disarming Libya. We have clients like that, people who have negotiated high level things, and these are people who are deeply committed to their profession. So the idea that they go from who knows how many hours a week, right, to nothing, is a challenge. So I always, I have this conversation because, of course, I'm all about making sure that everything's set financially. That is a huge factor. But imagine getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, and then you have one person who is the budgeter, and that person, for example, maybe the wife, right, and then the husband is the guy that worked for 30 years. Wife raised children. That is a very typical situation that I see still. Even, I mean, there's a lot of folks that are dual income, more and more, but early on, and as even still, we find that people are that way. And so you're going to go from getting a paycheck every 2 weeks to once a month, maybe, right? So it changes the dynamic of how things are paid, how what expenses are, how those things are managed. So I think the big thing is understanding that there's a lot going on in that first few months, and then how do you manage it?
Yeah.
I just talked a lot, so somebody better jump in. So
Yeah.
I think Jennifer probably has a comment about that.
Yeah, I think stress is stress. Like what like whether it comes from, a missed session at the gym or like a surprise medical bill. I think chronic stress in any way can raise your cortisol and your blood pressure. I'm thinking of it from like a whole body approach.
Sure.
And that's just because that's my career. That's the way my brain works. So I think so even if your finances seem separate from your fitness, they're deeply connected, because I think when money worries creep in, your body pays the price. And I think this time that you're talking about is, you're entering into an unknown. Like, what is this going to look like?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fear around that.
yeah, for sure.
Well, Jeff, to you, I want to ask, I mean, we're talking about stress and financial stress coupled with retirement.
Mhm.
What is the number one fear that most people have when they come to you or talk about retirement?
Sure. The number one by far is, do I have enough money, and will I run out of it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
running out of money
Right.
before they pass,
Yeah.
right? Outliving their money, I guess, is probably a good way
Yeah.
to put it. That's got to be number one, right?
Number one, and there's always one of the couple who is a little bit more fearful.
Concerned.
Yeah,
Or
deeper, almost to the point that it's over.
right.
And so, and I've said this before on the show. The people that come to me and say, "Geez, I don't think I have enough," typically do, and the ones who say I have more than enough typically don't. And I've noticed that fear factor, for whatever reason, is a huge motivator for a lot of people to stay within their means. And whatever that came from, wherever that fear came from, it is a real fear. And so it has to be both sides of the fence here. So you have this double whammy. You have the psychological issue of retiring and not having something to do every day, and then you have someone else maybe potentially concerned about, geez, maybe you should go back to work because I'm afraid that we might not have enough money, And so you've got this double whammy. And then so I spend a lot of time in that, a couple hours before that retirement date in separate appointments, talking about the psychology behind it. I think it's super important that people know what to look out for, because there are going to be landmines when you retire, especially in that first few months. And they're going to be like time and space, right? You're going to, one of them is used to going away. The other one is used to having that time by themselves. You're going to be together a lot more, and you're going to be in the same space. You're going to have to relearn who each other are in a different way. and it's a very, very challenging time. So yes, we as financial planners, we get all the X's and O's done. We're really good at what we're doing from that aspect, but I don't think there's enough conversation around what can potentially happen after that last day of work.
Especially for couples.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, you just don't, I always have clients come back, after that first quarter afterwards. And one of them is defensive and arms crossed, and I'm always like, okay, what's happening, and, I always have this sort of referee kind of gift, I guess people think that I'm a referee, so they'll throw some stuff at me and say, well, he did this or she did that, or and I'm always like, whoa.
How do you think I feel as the co-host with you two? Holy cow. No,
Right,
you guys are great. But yeah, I mean, you're a counselor, a therapist, a financial advisor, and especially retirement planner.
Mhm.
You've got to help people understand. But if they work with somebody like you, Jeff, who's done this for years, you've helped so many people retire.
Yeah.
You know how to put together a retirement income plan. If they follow the plan and they make the right adjustments along the way and work closely with you, they can sleep well at night and don't have to be stressed about running out of money, because they'll know, okay, I'm definitely going to have this much money that will last me until through age 95 or 100,
Right.
for sure, no problem. Whether the market can go up and down, we're going to be fine.
Mhm.
And if they do want to make extra expenses or change the plan, they can come to you and you can make adjustments or say, yes, you can buy this RV and travel the country. No, you're going to need to wait. So I think there's ways to relieve that stress through both of you, working with a financial professional, working with a health professional and a fitness professional,
Yeah.
a fitness expert, to make sure you stay healthy, because health costs are a big stressor. I mean, that's where I saw my parents really the stress come in, when the medical bills and the
Mhm.
prescription bills started to come in.
Mhm.
Well, I think that that's why we started this. This is why we wrote the book, or it'll be out, is because they're now that I have, you know, Jennifer, and we literally have the same type of people that we work with. There's not a client that will walk through the door that won't get the conversation. Hey, this is the time, and if you have the money to do this, hire a personal trainer, get in the gym. I mean, having something to do every day is such an important part of the psychology behind retiring. If it's, whatever, if you had a hobby from years ago that you want to pick back up, I invite you to do it. If you're a reader, start reading, find something to do, garden, get out of the house every day. These are tips that I give people. Have an agenda. I mean, the first few months you can throw the alarm clock out. You know what I mean? Just don't even bother. Just kind of get that feel. But the
Sure.
reality is that that's only going to last for a couple weeks before you start going crazy. And
Right. You'll hit a wall. I mean, people who
yeah.
say, I'm going to golf every day, that's all I'm going to do in retirement.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't care how you could love golf more than life itself, but you'll hit a wall.
You
You
will.
can't golf every day. It doesn't work. People who love to read, I know a lot of people I know who have retired are like, I've got 60 books I'm going to start reading. I've got all these books I want to read. And
Mhm.
you can't read 24 hours a day. The
Right.
physical body can't, your mind and eyesight can't take it. I mean,
Right.
the words start to blur after a while. I know, because I've binge read books because I'm
Right.
an avid reader. So, I mean,
Mhm.
you can do some of those things in retirement, but you have to have other plans, right? And
Right.
if you stay occupied, like my grandfather, who lived to 101 and was active
Mhm.
past age 100, was active, like was
Wow.
Right.
camping 3 months before he died.
Wow.
He said the secret was you got to keep going,
Mhm.
and you have to have purpose. And I think if you have purpose
Mhm.
and stay active, that's a huge part of it. You'll have less stress, because number one, you'll have other things occupying your mind by just sitting at home going, I can't spend any money or I'll run out. There's
Mhm.
Jeff, you probably
Right.
know people who, you've probably had worked with people who one or the other or both doesn't want to spend any money because they're so paranoid, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's crippling. And I think that I almost have to tell them, and give them permission. Like it's
spend
okay.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
you can take more than just your required minimum distribution every
Yeah.
year. And some people just don't want to, and that's okay. Some people don't want to travel. Those are all personal choices. But I think I just think that having some sort of agenda or a goal every day, like you said, purpose and keeping moving. And that's kind of where Jennifer comes into play. I think a lot of her clients are in that age category, right around retirement or in retirement. And I tell you, it's really cool to watch all the clients who are in that age category that are just doing cool stuff. I mean, 78 years old, and she paints on a regular basis and works out at the gym.
Travels to
Europe and outpaces 60 some year olds. And she just is it's just fun. It's just fun to see.
Yeah, that's neat.
When they do when they just do it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I have clients that come to Fredericksburg Fitness that jokingly say, I'm here 3 times a week just so I can have time away from my spouse.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
That reminds me of my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. I may have already mentioned this on a previous show, but they had a big party for my parents at their 50th wedding anniversary in the town, and the town's not that big, so like everybody was there at this atrium where they threw this party, and they asked, okay, tell us, 50 years of marriage, how'd you do it? And my mom said, he was gone a lot. How'd you make it 50 years? And my mom just didn't miss a beat. Instant. He was gone a lot. And then my dad looks at her and what about you, Tom? He goes, 50 years of marriage, 10 years of marital bliss. So he had to get back at her, but he was an over the road truck driver. And my mom was dead serious in a way. We all laughed hard, but he was. And sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's why you mentioned it earlier, Jeff, a lot of togetherness. And sometimes you need a break, especially if one was a stay-at-home mom or dad, and the other person worked full-time, but then that person retires and is at home now. And let's just say, let's say you have a stay-at-home mom. She's run the household. She raised the kids. She has her routines. And then all of a sudden, her husband retires and is like, hey, honey, what's going on? Yeah. She's after about 2 weeks, she's like, out. Get out.
Find someplace to go right now. I mean, and that is a very typical conversation I have with retirees, and it cracks me up every single time. But my favorite one was one of my clients said, Jeff, wherever I am, he's right there. Every time I go, I turn around, he's right there. He's right, and I'm like, okay. Let's have some grace. He doesn't know what he's doing right now. He's just, you got to find something to do.
You got to give it time, though. You have to be patient with each other because retirement is a new chapter. It's not an end of something. It's a new beginning, and it's an exciting time. But for couples to retire, there has to be a lot of communication, and they should go meet with both of you beforehand and talk about their plans for retirement and their healthcare plans for retirement and fitness regimen and what their money plans. And then once they're both on the same page, and not just money and fitness, but what they're going to do, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I'm curious, Jeff, being like the referee, between couples, like, have you had the situation where like, one couple may want to like downsize and cut back in retirement, and the other one is the exact opposite and wants to like maybe maintain or increase, discretionary spending? Like how do you referee that?
Yeah.
One spouse wants to downsize and minimize, and the other spouse wants to, hey, let's get a bigger house.
Right. Well, and maybe honestly, I don't know, Jeff, if you've experienced this, but have they even talked about it one-on-one before they get to you? You know what I mean? Like,
no, I think a lot of times they save it and then they just do it in front of me.
Oh,
yeah. I think that happens just to see the reaction.
Oh my goodness.
Because I think both of them feel justified and they're right. You know what I mean? In their mind, they're right. And it's hard for me to step into that situation. Obviously, that's an impossible situation, but
So
I
no
do
win for
kind of
you at
right.
that
I
point.
kind of go at it from a pragmatic standpoint. I always side with the woman. Just kidding. That's not true.
It's actually smart. I was about to you said just kidding before I could say exactly.
Yeah.
People ask me, I've been married 32 years happily, and it's just
Mhm.
like, how do you do it, Tony? And it's just like she's always right.
Yeah.
And as long as I agree with that and am a proponent of that, of course. That's
Yes.
how a happy marriage, you always agree with the wife. The wife
Yes.
is always right. And Jeff, you're smart too.
Well, I've sorted out some stuff, but I've had situations where I did side, with the husband, and
Sure.
the facts, so I just took it from a factual standpoint, and I have to say that, like, look,
Well, yeah, you
your
got to be
situation is,
straightforward. Like
yeah,
financially, one of you, financially, this is probably the best for you guys. Just
that's
looking
what
at
I
it from
did.
a straight facts.
Mhm.
Here's where you're at. Here's where you want to be. Yes, this will work, or no, it won't.
Right.
That's what I will tell you. I'm
I'll
not
give you an
taking
example.
sides,
I
right?
actually have an example of that.
Oh,
Right. So I have a client who desperately wanted to move out of our area and into Maryland. And Maryland had some deal for retirees that had some tax benefits. Um, and I say some. Okay, so
Yeah,
but where she wanted to move was in the most expensive county in Maryland,
of
as
course.
opposed to
Yeah,
Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is not that, so I had to literally go through the cost of living index and say, like, look, she's like, no, it's going to be a lot cheaper. It's going to be a lot cheaper. I know all my people over there. I know what I'm going to do.
sure.
But then the housing, I mean, just for the housing alone is just, is significantly more. So I had to show from that aspect, and it was really hard for me to step into that type of situation.
Yeah, that's
um
tough. That's
but
tough.
it's part of my job is to identify vulnerabilities if they come up,
Yeah,
and how to
yeah.
deal with them. So
Take
I
the
think,
emotion out of it and
yeah,
just say, "Hey, here are the facts, and you guys have to make your own decisions." But,
right, and that's why I
based
said,
on where you're at financially, this would be the best decision.
right. And
Yeah.
I mean, especially with it could be just a lot of money wasted, that you just definitely can't get back. And if there's a health issue, I mean, I don't want to sound like this whole podcast is protecting against long-term care, but I'm telling you, the things that eat at your assets, we don't know what they are. I always tell people is like, when we put a financial plan together, I'm like, I've been doing this long enough to know that there's going to be something that happens between now and the end of
A
um,
black swan event, some major
something.
event that's
Right.
going to upset the apple cart. Life happens.
Yeah, we don't know what that is and when it happens, but we know that it will. And so
Yep.
we try to create some contingencies on the back end of those, some bucket of money or some savings that will help account for that. I also implement strategies if they don't have long-term care and aren't eligible for it, to account for some money to protect on that. Talk and educate them on the options. I mean, the things that can really ruin a financial plan are going to be some of the same things that we always have to look out for. So health issues, major life events. Divorce would be tragic on a financial
Financially.
plan. Yeah,
Yeah.
retirement plan. And so the whole key here is, like, let's not put ourselves in the position to do that, right? So again, counseling people on what to expect is so valuable, I think. Anyway, I don't think there's enough of it talked about. So I think this is a great topic for a show, because I see it
yeah.
a lot.
I feel like the communication piece is critical. Like before they get to you, being able to sit down one on
Hmm.
one and saying like, how do you feel about this? Here's my thought. What about you?
Well, let's talk about us. I mean,
Yeah.
we're a good example, right? So we
Yeah.
both have been in our own businesses for, Jennifer's 17 years, mine 20, whatever, 20, somewhere around there. We each have our own, financial
35.
success.
35
I know,
years
right? Tony,
of experience. Oh,
Tony's like,
for me.
I invented work. He's like one-upping us.
Yeah. Ooh, 17 years. I'm so
Wow,
impressed.
big deal. But I mean, I feel like we communicate well, but I feel like there's also the fact that neither one of us is wanting for anything, right?
Right.
We don't have a situation where, coming into this marriage, I was like, either one of us was like, geez, I need you from the financial standpoint.
Right.
It's not like that.
Right.
But we still have overlap, right? We still have things that, we have a house together, we have, things together, we have a vehicle together. And so we have to manage that and having communications. I know, for me anyway, Jennifer is so easy to communicate with, and we're just honest, right? So I think the key factor in having a healthy discussion is don't hide it. Don't pretend. Just talk about your fear and don't be afraid of it. It's okay. Everybody has fears, and shocker, we're all human, right? So understanding that fast is, so that things can be dealt with is the best way. So if you have a fear at all, saying something like, hey, geez, this is a concern for me. I don't
Get
know
it
how
out
to
there in
I
front of
don't know
your
how to
spouse
deal with it.
to a professional like
Yeah.
yourselves. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, Jennifer,
Don't hide it.
Right.
Rip those shirt sleeves off. Don't
I mean,
hide it. Don't hide what you have.
no other way to do it.
Yeah. There
Just
you go.
strong arm it. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I see
Strong arm it.
a similar misalignment in my realm when husband and wife come in for an assessment, and one of the usually it's been different either way, but either the husband or the wife is all on board and wants to invest in the program 100%, and the spouse is very apprehensive, about investing in it.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult situation for me to be in too, because it's, she wants it and he doesn't, or he wants it and she doesn't. And so ultimately, I think, I feel like you have to have common ground somewhere, right? You have to connect on something before you get to that, right? Before you get to that appointment. Like, what are your expectations here? Let's talk about this before we get to the professional and make this feel, like we're not connected or we're not in alignment.
Or take the differences but talk about the differences and then say, hey, we can talk openly about this. Here's what I would like, but they feel this way.
Right.
What should we do? What do you think of that? And asking your opinion is one thing, and being open and say, hey, yeah, I really feel this is important because of this. And then say, well, I feel like it's not a good idea because of this. As long as they've talked about it and know that before, they're not just unpacking once they get there. But Jeff, I have to shake my head and just chuckle because, people come in and, they have no idea what the other one's going to drop. Like, oh, we need to do this. And it's like, what?
That is new.
Awkward.
Yeah. I always feel like, sometimes we have the airing of grievances from Seinfeld,
the airing of grievances.
Yeah, I'm always like, oh, here comes the airing of grievances. So
the airing of grievances.
Yeah,
exactly. But communication is key, and all of this is key to reducing financial stress in retirement. You guys have hit on a big one. Have a plan. Work with professionals. Communicate. That's a big one, isn't it? To relieve some of that stress.
Here's the nice thing. Let's break it down. If you're in this area, you're going to get a husband and wife duo that has seen pretty much all of it in our industries together. And the overlap, we're growing every day, learning more and more about how we can benefit people just from our experience. And I'm telling you, if you're in a situation where you're about to retire and you need something to do afterwards, and you're concerned about your health, you're concerned about your finances, this is a team that you really want to, at least get some feedback from, to be honest, without sounding like a commercial, and definitely not trying to toot our own horn. But I'm telling you, we really see the same people, and everybody that is looking at trying to better themselves are probably going to Jennifer. People that are not as knowledgeable or need help with their finances and don't have an ego, come to a guy like me, and I help sort all that stuff out. Jennifer sorts all that stuff out, and combined, you will have a much better life, a much better retirement. When you have all of those things, like you talked about, those sleep well at night plans, the swan plans, right? Those are so important to have that in your hip pocket, and you can whistle the rest of the day after you work.
Well, especially if they go to you as a couple, as a team, what you've done here, it is so helpful because those are the two areas that you'll need secure to have a really good, successful, happy retirement. And you've worked so hard to get there. Don't blow it now.
Right.
Get the help you need to make sure you've got the proper health plan in place to stay healthy, minimize those health costs, and have a financial plan to know you don't have to worry. I know now I am not going to outlive my money. That will not be a problem. And there's ways to do that, but just that knowledge of knowing that nope, we've planned it out, it's going to work, and here we know exactly what to do and when. I think that's great. Now, before we go, I want to go back really quick to the CBS interview you guys did, and that question. I was watching that, and at one point I was very hurt because they asked you, hey, how did this show, how did you get the idea to do fitness and finance? Why do a podcast? What was the reason behind it? And I'm just like, oh, wow, here we go. This is where they're going to just, the first words out of their lips are going to be, this guy, Tony Shore, our co-host, he really inspired us, and he met with us, and no mention of me, I guess. And so super hurtful. No, I had nothing to do with you guys forming this podcast. I'm just lucky. I'm teasing because I'm just lucky you asked me to be a part of it. I feel honored, and it's so much fun every week. We have a lot of fun.
Jennifer, what's the number one thing we hear every time we talk about the podcast? What's the number one thing that clients talk about?
Tony Shore.
Tony Shore.
No, that's not.
They all love you.
They do.
They all love you.
That's not.
Everybody's like, oh, that Tony.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. They do say that. Oh, that Tony. You might want to get that removed.
No, they all.
You might want to see a doctor about that.
Loves your humor.
Your podcast has a growth.
All of a sudden got into the video.
Huh?
All of a sudden he had his cat in his arms. That episode.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, oh.
It was just a random cat in our show.
Yeah. That wasn't random cat. That was Milo. And I mean, the odds that your cat will kill you in your sleep are low, but never zero.
That's true.
Never zero.
Never.
All right. Well, a good show today. Really good topic. But I'm sure our listeners, because of everything we talked about and that you do, they're going to have questions. How can they get a hold of you? Jennifer, you go first.
Visit our website at fbergfitness.com, and you'll click at the top, book discovery call, and you can get booked for a complimentary call on my calendar. Or you can call us at 540-479-1877.
Yeah, and we're going to have a new website here probably in the next week or so for both of us to combine, if that is something of value to our listeners. If you want to get in touch with me, you can go to theretirementsmith.com and you can click on contact us on the top right, and you will get connected with us right away. Thank you so much for that, Tony.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. I hope our listeners will pick up the phone or go to the website. For Jeff, it's theretirementsmith.com. And for Jennifer, it's fbergfitness.com. Correct?
That's correct.
Yep. And we're on Fitness and Finance Radio. And really great show today. Good topic. You want to navigate that financial stress and get the help you need to do it. Make the right decisions, not costly ones, but the right ones that are going to save you in the long run. Great show. Once again, listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in today. That does it for today's episode of Fitness and Finance Radio with our hosts, Jennifer Scherer and Jeff Smith.